Welcome. It's Facts You Don't Know. If it's your first time here and you want to find out new facts that will definitely make you smarter and more, and first make sure to subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss anything.
She's worked with the Luxor shoe shine guys for over 30 years. She sits in coffee shops with people, prays in the local mosque with them, and dresses just as they do, in pants or in a traditional floor-length tunic known as a galabaya. Most people assume that Sisa Abu Dao was a guy before she exposed her 42-year-old identity publicly some weeks ago. Perhaps unexpectedly, in a community where many hold traditional conceptions of gender roles, the announcement by Mrs. Dao has been greeted not with criticism but with excitement and a burst of large positive reactions from local news media and officials. On Sunday, she was personally awarded by Egypt's President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi for being an exceptional mom. Mrs. Dao, age 64, said in an interview last week that she started dressing as a realistic man to avoid limits on women's jobs in a patriarchal society and raise enough to help her daughter Hoda. But now, whether or not she still wants to pose as a guy, she said she has no intent to alter. What started out as a way of surviving rural poverty has evolved into her preferred way of life and a means of navigating a male-dominated world. "I am grateful to God," she said with a raspy voice that is at least one octave lower than that of the average man. She was wearing a dark gray galabaya with a green scarf over her head and sat smoking cigarettes in a relative's home on a dirt lane in Al-Akalta, a small farming village on the Nile's west bank near Luxor. In expressing her life in a man's role, she kisses her fingertips like a satisfied Italian chef with a soup. At home, she also dresses like this, her daughter Hoda said. Miss Dao found herself penniless in the early 1970s after her husband died. She made the bold decision, with few options, to seek work as a man. "I worked in Aswan wearing pants and a galabaya," she said. "Nobody would let me work if I hadn't." The early years had been difficult. She was faced with verbal and physical violence from everyone who found out about her identity. She said, like this, smacking her fist into her mouth. "I used to bring a wooden club with me." She spent 7 years in construction and other manual labor, earning less than $1 a day. Much of the time, the people she worked with either didn't have any idea or didn't care she was a woman. They would say, "He was good at his job," she said. They would give me cigarettes. Eventually, the other staff started calling her Abu Hoda, Hoda's dad. Miss Dao's decision to expose her long-running impersonation came at a time when the state clamped down on unorthodox gender and sexual expressions. Police have intensified arrests of those accused of being gay or otherwise not conforming to gender standards after the military deposed Mohamed Morsi, the country's elected president, in July 2013. A large part of the reason Egyptians have accepted her story so widely is that there's no suggestion her choice of clothing had anything to do with sexuality issues. Nonetheless, her story has shown how many in Egypt are pushing to the limits of conventional gender roles, said Scott Long, a human rights activist who lives in Cairo. Although the state recognizes her properly for her bravery, it jails those who consider themselves transgender, he said. If the government was concerned with values, not manipulating stereotypes, citizens would be rewarded for being true to themselves and doing what it takes to keep themselves alive and their families. Workplace inequality between men and women is a fact most everywhere, but Egypt's gender disparity is among the worst in the world. Just 26% of women in Egypt engage in the labor force, compared with 76% for men, according to a survey by the World Economic Forum. The nation ranked 129th out of 142 countries in the report for the inequalities in workplaces. As the years passed, Miss Dao moved to the less physically taxing trade of sparkling shoes on the street in Luxor. She continues her work to this day, bringing home an average of 15 to 20 Egyptian pounds. That's $1.97 to $2.62 a day. She said only her family and neighbors in her village knew until recently that there was a woman hiding underneath the galabaya. She said she has no plans to go dress up again as a kid. She raised the wrapped white scarf around her head to expose a close-cropped silver hair rug. Look, nothing else is there. Saturday in Egypt was Mother's Day. Hoda bought men's shorts and a new galabaya for her mom to celebrate the holiday. "She's not my mom alone," said Hoda. "She's my mother, my father, all my life." Thanks for watching. Please like and share the video in social networks. We'll be right back to you as fast as we can.